Buenas, qué bueno que se unen a nosotros en Bodega Nation Digital Trade Show. Welcome, I'm very happy that you join us for this next presentation on Bodega Nation Digital Trade Show. Now we have WIC, the Women, Infant and Children Program. We feel that it's important to you to connect and get basic information about the WIC program if you want to add this program to your bodega. So nosotros pensamos que es importante que escuchemos sobre el programa de WIC, que quizás todos sabemos de una u otra manera, pero hemos invitado a un oficial del programa de WIC en el área de Nueva York, de la ciudad, y él nos va a hablar de su programa. La presentación va a ser en inglés. Yo voy a traducir algunas partes. So with that, let me introduce to Mr. Rudy Sicari, and then I ask him to introduce himself a little bit, and then he will make a presentation for us. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rudy Sicari. I'm the Director of the Public Health Solutions WIC Vendor Management Agency, and we manage WIC vendors in Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, Nassau, Suffolk County, Manhattan, and Orange and Rockland.
Oh, great, great. So you cover kind of everything below Orange County, right?
Well, the only thing we don't cover is the Bronx, Putnam, and Westchester. That's done by another WIC vendor agency called.
Okay, okay. Good to know. So if I kind of so there's the WIC program, there's the state, and then they have agencies that kind of serve the relationship by section of the state. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's 4 vendor management agencies in the state, and there's 2 upstate WIC vendor management agencies that do the capital region, the center of the state, as well as the western region.
But if I am in Brooklyn, I contact WIC and I'm going to get someone from your agency specifically. But I don't know your name. I just know that it is WIC. You are working like in the back end, so to speak, right?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah, good to know. Let me translate that a little bit, okay?
Sure.
So, el señor Sicari está hablando de que él representa el programa WIC. Hay 4 agencias que son subcontratadas por el programa WIC en el estado de Nueva York. Él representa una parte de la ciudad de Nueva York y algo del norte de la ciudad de Nueva York. So, a brief translation. So, okay, how about if you start with your presentation, and then at the back end, we have more questions, okay?
Sure. Okay, I'm going to start my PowerPoint. Let me know if you can see it.
I tell you when it's up.
Can you see it?
No, not yet. Something is coming.
Can you see it?
Not yet. Not yet.
No.
Not yet. No.
I think I'm having a bit of a technical issue.
Yes.
Hold on. Let me see if I can.
So it would be, remember, the screen share, and then you'll go directly to your PowerPoint presentation, and then I guess I will go from there.
See, I don't see the screen share.
Right.
Well, I see. I got it. Let's see.
Well, as you know, this is live, so to anyone listening, this is what we got, and then I got your presentation. Okay, it's on. I have your screen. Now you can show your PowerPoint presentation there. You need to click on the orange circle on the bottom. That one, yeah, I guess. Just click to the logo of, and now you are seeing us, but you need to see the orange PowerPoint presentation, the software. You need to click on it.
Yeah, I just did,
but it's not covering. Okay, now we go. Okay, here we go. Good to go.
Okay, thank you so much.
Go ahead.
So what I'm going to first start with is an overview of WIC. So the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for women, infants, and children, commonly known as WIC, is a cost-effective nutrition program. And WIC is funded by the United States Department of Agriculture, so it's actually a federal program, but it's block granted to the states. And in New York State, it's administered by the New York State Department of Health. So what WIC does is provides nutrition education, breastfeeding support, referrals to other health and human services, and nutritious foods and formulas to women, infants, and children throughout New York State. Now, the fundamental purpose of the program is to ensure the health and well-being of eligible families, as well as young children. And we accomplish this by providing individual tailored food benefits, we call food prescriptions, for specific types and brands of food, formula that meet strict nutritional requirements. Unlike SNAP, we don't allow just anything. We only allow products that have high nutritional standards as determined by nutritionists. Now, what are the roles of our WIC vendors? Well, WIC vendors play a critical role in providing these benefits. They provide access to safe and nutritious foods and formulas. They provide exactly what's prescribed by WIC. They offer competitive pricing to help the WIC program contain costs and reach the greatest number of eligible women, infants, and children in the state. And they respect WIC shoppers and offer a positive shopping experience. So what are the requirements for a WIC vendor to get on the program? Well, first, a WIC vendor has to demonstrate eWIC readiness, and that's just being capable of transacting electronic WIC benefits. Most stores have SNAP already, so they have that capability. And building on that, all WIC vendors have to hold a valid Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program authorization, a SNAP authorization, formerly known as food stamps. They also have to meet a minimum stock requirement. We have a strict minimum stock requirement for all different types of WIC foods, and we determine if a store is meeting that minimum stock requirement through in-store inspections. So like I said before, not all foods are WIC acceptable, so we also have a WIC acceptables food card that tells a vendor as well as the participant what exactly is WIC acceptable and what is not. Also, a vendor has to demonstrate prices charged for WIC allowable food are reasonable. Now, how do we do that in New York State? Well, what we do is we put vendors into what's called peer groups. And federal regulations require New York State WIC program to assign all vendors to a peer group based on common characteristics. And the purpose of the peer group system is to compare vendors that are similar when it comes to pricing, offer fair reimbursement, apply competitive price criteria to contain costs, and maximize participant enrollment. Now, in New York State, the peer group criteria we use is based on geography. It's based on business model, whether it's store as an independent store or a chain store, and it's also based on store size. And we determine store size by the number of registers. And just to build on this for a second, you can imagine in a situation with a small store or a bodega, usually it's a one register store. In the New York City, say in the New York City region, what we do is we group those stores into a peer group, and we see what the redemptions for WIC is in all those stores for WIC commodity. So for instance, if the WIC commodity, what we're talking about is, say, formula, will come up for an average for, say, a can of say, Infamil. And then what the state does is they put a tolerance on it. In other words, we know there's variation in prices. So they might put like a tolerance based on standard deviations. And in plain terms, what that means is I'll give you an example. If a WIC commodities average is $5, they might put a tolerance of, say, $1 on it. So it's 5 plus 1 becomes $6. That would become the maximum allowable reimbursement rate for that particular product. Also, in order to get on the WIC program, a WIC vendor must attend a training session, and right now we're doing remote training sessions because of COVID. And they must demonstrate reasonable hours and what they are is open 6 days a week, 8 hours a day, and they have to pass a business integrity review. So we pass up a completed application to the Bureau of Special Investigations in New York State, and they run a background check to make sure that the vendor has not committed any fraud. And you can get more about this on our website, nyswicvendors.com. It contains a lot more information on the requirements for enrollment. Now, what we're using in New York State now when it comes to enrollment is vendor contract periods. So currently, all WIC vendors fall into one of 6 vendor contract periods based on their location and entity status. And vendors may apply during an open application period of their vendor contract period without any restrictions. They can just apply. There are no restrictions. But they have to submit a request for an application. Again, that's found on our website. And if you see the chart that's next to the text, you can see, if you run down VCP, we're going to be going into VCP4, which is Queens. And that open application period starts October 1st, 2020, and it ends December 31st. So we'll accept all applications for Queens in that 3-month time period. And then we have an application processing period, which starts in January 2021 and ends March 2021. And all the vendors that have applied in this open application period and meet all the requirements to become a WIC vendor will get their contract start date on April 1st, 2021. And as you can see, then we move into VCP period 6 and 7, which is the Bronx and Brooklyn. And we split the Bronx and Brooklyn in half because there are so many vendors there. We'd be inundated if we didn't do this. And you can see an open application period for half of the Bronx and half of Brooklyn will start 4/1/2021, and for the other half, 10/1/2021. And you can go to our website, and we spell out the exact zip codes who could apply in those particular boroughs. Now, we do offer exemptions for vendors. So those vendors who submit a request for an application outside their designated open application period usually don't receive a WIC vendor application, except under the following circumstances. The first exemption is cultural need. And the way that they define cultural need is consideration of a circumstance which a vendor serves 25 or more WIC participants that cannot be properly served by an authorized vendor located within 1 mile due to, and they spell it out, a barrier stemming from language, ethnicity, nationality, or religious belief. We also offer an exemption based on sales criteria. If a store is going to expect to do $5 million in food sales, we give them an exemption. And the third exemption is based on participant access criteria. So there has to be a minimum number of vendors to be authorized by any state to ensure participant access to WIC foods. So the criteria for this in WICs that we use in New York State is that we use a vendor to participant ratio in certain areas, in all zip code areas of the state. Participant availability to access a vendor via commute. There are some very long commutes, or there are some non-existent mass transit capability in some parts of the state, so we consider that. And then we also consider geographic barriers that might affect participant access. And that could be like a highway or things like, or some other sort of geographical barrier that would inhibit a WIC participant to reasonably get to a WIC store. Now, what New York State does is they compile a zip code list showing areas which there is a participant access issues, and a larger number of WIC eligible vendors are needed. And we put this on our website, and this list is updated every so often to ensure that we have enough WIC vendors that are on the program in all areas of the state. I want to talk about WIC EBT card and PIN. We've been on WIC EBT now for probably a little more than a year, and it's been a big change from paper WIC checks, a big change for the better. So WIC shoppers will use a card similar to a debit card to redeem their benefits, And WIC shoppers will use the card and a personal identification number, PIN number, to redeem their benefits. So in the old system, they would have an identification card. Now, shoppers using eWIC card are not required to show any WIC ID or any other form of identification. All the WIC shopper has to do is use their card and then put in their PIN, and they'll be good to go. Now, what's on a WIC EBT card? It's very, very different from SNAP. SNAP is a cash benefit. What WIC is, it's an inventory of food. And you can see from this example, in this particular on this particular card, there's 2 dozen eggs, there's 72 ounces of cereal, etc. So there's specific food types and amounts are loaded onto the WIC EBT card every 30 days. And shoppers can redeem these benefits as needed. So a participant can go to a store, and if they only need 1 dozen eggs, they can buy 1 dozen eggs, and a week later they can buy another dozen eggs. This is very different from WIC checks, because in WIC checks, you have to fill the entire check at the time you use the check. So it gives a lot of flexibility to a WIC participant, so they don't have to take all the WIC benefits all at once. Now, in New York State, we have 2 types of WIC systems that accept WIC eWIC. And one system is a stand-aside system, and the other system is an integrated system. Now, in the stand-aside system, would only accept eWIC transactions. That's the only transaction that it accepts. And the WIC items have to be separated. So if you have WIC items and non-WIC items, they have to be separated, and so the vendor can only have to scan WIC items. And they need it to be scanned twice. What that means is that a vendor would have to ring them up on their register first, and then use the stand-aside system to scan the items to use the eWIC card. And the process for a stand-aside system is the same in every store. That's because New York State uses a company called Conduit to provide these stand-aside systems to stores that request a stand-aside system. Now, in an integrated system, it accepts multiple payment types, including eWIC. So it could accept SNAP, it could accept credit cards, it could accept cash. And WIC and non-WIC items can be purchased in a mixed basket. You don't have to separate items. And each system can be different. You know, integrated systems are usually in larger stores, chain stores, and these systems are pretty much proprietary. The stores buy the system that they choose to buy, or they might create their own. So like I was saying, an integrated system, it's typically found in chain and multi-lane stores, and it can process WIC and other items in the same transaction. And the WIC card is always the first form of payment. What that means is that if a participant has a WIC card, an EBT card, a credit card, or cash, the first form of payment would always be the eWIC card, followed by SNAP, followed by credit and cash. Now, the stand-aside system is typically found in smaller stores, and a cashier, like I said, needs to scan the items twice, one on the register, one on the stand-aside system, and they process the WIC items separately. They have to separate the items out. Now, in a stand-aside system, if a vendor is selling, say, apples or things that need to be priced by the pound, what they have to do is they must weigh the item and then manually enter a PLU. That's a product lookup number. And PLUs is a standardized system that is used mostly for fruits and vegetables. Like when you go to a big supermarket, you'll see a number on the apples, and that's the PLU number, and it's usually attached to a price, and in a bigger store, because it's an integrated store, and that's how they determine the price of the apples. In a smaller store, you might have to enter the price per pound and the PLU number for apples, and that's how you'll come up with a total price. Now, a WIC participant can ask anybody who takes eWIC for a mid-transaction receipt. And this is beneficial to the WIC participant because they might not know what's exactly left on their WIC card. Now, they have means of determining that. they have means of determining that because they can put an app on the phone to determine that, and they get receipts after every transaction to tell them what's left. But sometimes they forget. And a mid-transaction receipts shows all scanned items, the WIC beginning balance, and the WIC redemptions. And we recommend this with vendors so the WIC participant knows exactly what's on that card, so there's no issues, during the transaction. Now, what's the benefits of eWIC to a vendor? For a vendor, it's easier checkout because there's no paper WIC checks anymore. It's faster settlement. It usually settles within 24 hours. The system approves only WIC items. So, I mean, there's hundreds of WIC items. You might, a cashier would not know what exactly is WIC, what is not. They would have to, in the old system, refer to a WIC acceptable SMOOT card. Here, it's automatically done. So there's fewer administrative tasks. There's no batching of paper, no vendor stamps, which we used in the past, and there's no rejecting of checks because we don't use checks. And WIC EBT reduces fraud, and it's easy to train cashiers on. As I said before, there's 4 vendor management agencies, and this is a slide showing the 4 of them. And like I said, us, Public Health Solutions, we do most of the downstate area. Montefiore does the Bronx, Putnam, and Westchester. So if most of your stores in the downstate area, you'll be dealing with either us or Montefiore. For the upstate area, the Commissioner of Economic Opportunity for Greater Capital Region does the Capital Region area and does the midsection of the state. And the Society for Protection and Care of Children, they do the western region of the state. And again, all this is on the website, and you can view it at any time you like. Talk about the website. Now, what is on our website? There's application information. There's all past vendor communications. There are vendor resources such as forms and handouts that the vendor might need. There are eWIC cashier training videos, eWIC point of sale information, all WIC approved items, right? There's UPC and PLU information. On the website, we show all the UPCs for all the WIC acceptable items in the state, and we do it by food category. So if a vendor has a question of whether an item is WIC acceptable or not, you can go right to the website to find out. We have food and formula infographics. We have our contact information, and we have a map there where a participant can find the vendor. So the participant just puts in their zip code, puts in their address. They can find the vendor that's nearest to their house or their place of employment. So that's the end of my presentation. Do I have any questions?
Wow, great presentation. I need to go back again to watch this video and get details, but I believe that some of the participants here will also have a few questions. Let me introduce them. We may have time for 1 or 2 questions during this session. So I have first a representative from the Mexican Bodega Association. They are based in Brooklyn. Then I have another bodega owner from Brooklyn, Carmela Walker. And then I have another group that is representing bodegas more in the Bronx, maybe outside of your area, but they also have members in the area that you serve, the United Bodega of America. So if any of you have some questions, Carmela, Maria, please jump into it. And let's use this about 3 or 4 minutes to do that. Okay?
Maria, we can hear you. Sorry, I'm mute. My question is in regards to the application date. So I read in your slide that for Brooklyn and Bronx that you divided into 2, and one is starting April of 2021. Do you know what area of the Bronx? Is it North Bronx, South Bronx that you divided it that way?
It was divided by zip codes. I mean, I didn't show it on this presentation that deep, but I mean, if you email me, right, I can get you all that information of exactly what zip codes are good for April 1st of 2021, as well as October 1st of 2021 for Brooklyn, as well as the Bronx.
Thank you very much.
Gerardo, you have any questions?
Pues si me ayudan a traducir sobre algunas empresas que aún no tienen la certificación de sus productos aceptados por WIC. A ver si nos puede ayudar en algún momento, en alguna entrevista, para poder orientar a estas empresas. Por ejemplo, el abuelito Cheese está buscando que sus productos puedan ser cualificados por WIC.
So let me jump into that question. He's talking about a few things, but the good one is he also worked for a company. They produce products, cheese, and then he wants to know how to get in contact with the state of New York in order to see if their product qualified to be part of the WIC program.
Well, if you go to our website, what New York State did on the outset prior to EBT is they went to like hundreds of stores in New York State to look at products to see what qualifies to be a WIC acceptable product. Now, all cheese could be WIC acceptable. So if you go to our website, with the UPC section, we have a form there. If you take a picture of the cheese, take a picture of the UPC number, take a picture of the ingredients, and use that form and send it to New York State, they will evaluate it to determine whether it could be put on the WIC acceptable, they call it the approved products list of the WIC acceptable foods card. And if it qualifies, they'll put it on.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if we have time for another question. Maybe we have another representative for an organization in the Bronx, Frank Marte, and then I have Maria from United Bodega. 1 minute for each, and then we need to finish this talk. Maria, you first.
Okay, so yeah, my interest again was making sure. Well, my question is long, but I wanted to know a little about how does the process work when a vendor makes a mistake in a sale, where the product is not WIC approved, and so we find that some of our vendors have lost their WIC or food stamps because of these mistakes that are happening either with employees or even themselves in the speed of the day and cashing in the products. So quickly, what would be the process for someone who finds himself trying to rectify their mistake?
Well, you see, those are mistakes that are kind of agent mistakes now, because those mistakes that were common when there were WIC checks. With WIC EBT, if you scan an item that's not WIC acceptable, it will reject. So it's not possible to scan into a system a WIC item that's not WIC acceptable at this point in time.
Okay, that is all the time that we have. I owe Francisco for another time.
Okay, thank you.
We may do this in a couple of months again. But thank you for your support and for being part of this Bodega Trade Show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Great presentation, Rudy. Thank you.
Thank you.